Q50 just survived a deadly ambush in St. Louis. Over 60 bullets fired, 4 people critically injured. But the real question is, why did this happen, and who set the trap? What you are about to see will shock you, revealing the dangerous streets, the $60,000 theft, and the revenge that almost ended one of Chicago's most feared drill rappers. From Chicago to St. Louis, Q50 walked straight into a trap he did not see coming. Guns, bullets, and betrayal. This was not just a shooting, it was a statement. Over 60 rounds, a black truck shredded, and lives on the line. Stick around, because the streets are talking, and the truth behind this ambush will blow your mind. 60 shots fired. A truck destroyed. 4 critically injured. And Q50 somehow walked away. What started as a normal performance turned into a real-life war zone. You are about to find out who plotted this, why the streets are buzzing, and how this young drill star survived the impossible. Q50 just got shot in St. Louis, and the streets are absolutely buzzing. People are asking if anyone out there really respects him or his crew. The shooting is linked to the $60,000 he reportedly took from some St. Louis guys, but many believe it was also a statement to show respect for Trap City. Here is the full story. Let's break down how Q50 got caught slipping. On August 17, 2025, the news hit hard. Bloodhound Q50, one of Chicago's most feared drill rappers, had his truck riddled with bullets in St. Louis, Missouri. What began as a normal trip to earn money quickly turned into a real-life drama that shook the drill scene to its core. To understand why Q50's shooting shook the streets so much, you first need to understand who he really is. Q50 is a 20-year-old young bull from Chicago, deeply entrenched in the Bloodhounds crew. He is not just a rapper posting videos online or performing at local shows. He is a figure whose reputation commands both fear and respect in the streets. From a young age, he has been involved in serious conflicts, and his name carries the weight of multiple alleged violent acts, making him one of the most dangerous young figures to come out of Chicago in recent memory. His presence alone in a neighborhood or on a stage can immediately shift the energy in a room, because people know he is someone who does not back down and has the backing of a tight-knit, influential crew. Q50's rise in the drill scene has been intertwined with his life in the streets, and his music often mirrors the dangerous reality he lives in. Every song, verse, and lyric can feel like a direct reflection of his experiences, calling out rival crews, highlighting street conflicts, and chronicling acts that, while often unconfirmed, have added to his mystique. His social media presence amplifies this image, blending performance with personal brand, showing off jewelry, cars, and weapons, all while subtly reminding everyone that he is not just a performer, he is a player in a real and often deadly game. On the day of the St. Louis incident, the setup started off like any other day for a young man chasing a bag. Q50 was in St. Louis handling what should have been a standard performance, a booking that any artist of his caliber could execute without much risk. The venue was packed, fans were hyped, and Q50 was in his element, moving with the confidence of someone who had been through the ups and downs of the streets and was used to commanding attention wherever he went. Yet, even in this seemingly normal environment, danger was lurking. He flaunted his bust-down Rolex on Instagram that day, sharing images and clips that proudly displayed the luxury he had earned. In doing so, he signaled to the world and, more importantly, to those who may have had grudges that he was thriving, even in enemy territory. That display of confidence and visibility, however, was a double-edged sword. While it cemented his status as a bold and fearless figure in the drill scene, it also made him a visible target for those seeking revenge or wanting to settle scores. Every post, every video, every display of wealth became a statement. And in the tense environment of gang rivalries, it could easily be interpreted as a challenge. What makes this situation even more intense is the context of Q50's history. Over the years, he had been involved in multiple feuds, both personal and crew-related, that had escalated into violence. His presence in a city like St. Louis, where he had allegedly crossed some local players, financially and symbolically, meant that his visit was more than just a business trip. It was a potential flashpoint. Even without planning or warning, the mere fact that he was there, performing and openly showing his lifestyle, created the conditions for a confrontation. In essence, Q50 was not just traveling to perform. He was stepping into a minefield of tensions and rivalries. His reputation, his visible displays of success, and the ongoing rivalries that followed him everywhere combined to make him a target. The streets understood this implicitly. This was why news of the shooting sent shockwaves, not only because a young figure from Chicago had been hit so violently in another city, but because it represented the unpredictable and high-stakes nature of life for someone like Q50. Every move he makes is amplified, and every moment is a potential turning point in the ongoing saga of gang rivalries, music, and survival that defines his world. Footage from his show showed a packed crowd going wild, with Q50 commanding the stage. Like the star he was becoming, but little did he know, his trip was a trap hand. He was about to walk right into it. According to social media chatter and street sources, Q50 had previously taken $60,000 from some St. Louis guys, and this was far from a small dispute. This was a serious theft, and he allegedly did not hide it. He bragged about it openly in raps and interviews, mocking the St. Louis scene and claiming they were too weak to retaliate. Fans and critics alike noted that Q50 even posted a snippet of a song recently, boasting about the money he had taken. In the clip, he rapped that the St. Louis guys were still mad, adding a warning, "Do not mess with me if we with bloody brothers." 76. The lyrics made it clear he was not just boasting, he was openly challenging them, showing no fear, while further escalating the tension. The plan set against him was cold, calculated, and straight out of a street playbook. Word is that the same people Q50 allegedly scammed were the ones who booked him for the St. Louis show. On the surface, it looked like just another performance, another day of chasing the bag. But behind the scenes, this was a perfectly laid trap. They knew he would show up, confident and unaware, thinking it was just a routine gig. The lure was simple but deadly: put money in front of him, make him comfortable, and strike when he least expected it. From a street perspective, this setup was textbook retaliation. It was not spontaneous or a random act of violence. It was premeditated. The organizers counted on Q50's boldness and public nature to ensure he would appear in the right place at the right time. Every move he made that day, from flaunting his wealth online to stepping on stage in St. Louis, played right into the hands of those plotting against him. In this way, the stage was set for an ambush that would shock the streets and leave a lasting mark on Q50's life and reputation. As Q50 and his crew pulled away from the venue in a black truck, likely counting the cash they had made from the performance, they had no idea they were driving straight into a deadly trap. Suddenly, gunfire erupted. Witnesses later described hearing what sounded like Draco rounds ripping through the air. The rapid bursts of automatic weapons shaking the street. Over 60 shots were fired in a matter of seconds, turning what should have been a normal night into a nightmare. The truck was shredded, every tire flattened, the body riddled with holes, and windows smashed. 4 people inside were hit and rushed to the hospital in critical condition, their lives hanging by a thread. The scene outside the hospital was chaotic, looking more like the aftermath of a missile strike than a drive-by shooting. Bystanders, first responders, and social media viewers were all stunned at the scale of the violence. It was immediately clear that this was not random street chaos or a simple beef gone wrong. This was highly organized, calculated retaliation. Adding to the chilling symbolism, reports from the scene noted exactly 60 shell casings scattered across the street. Observers quickly drew a connection: 1 bullet for every $1,000 Q50 had allegedly taken from St. Louis locals. It was a clear message from the shooters, a warning about the consequences of taking someone else's money and flaunting it publicly. Every detail, from the timing to the sheer number of rounds fired, showed this was street justice served deliberately and mercilessly. In the aftermath, the ambush became a talking point across social media and street circles alike. People debated the strategy, the symbolism, and the audacity of both Q50 and the shooters. It was a brutal reminder that in this world, reputation, respect, and retaliation operate on a deadly level. And even the boldest young figures like Q50 were never truly untouchable. Adding to the chaos, CTS Lou Wick, a white guy from St. Louis with a confirmed violent past, was named as one of the shooters. Wick has survived the system before, beating a murder case on self-defense, and has been featured in documentaries about street life. Online, reactions were mixed. Some sent prayers and well wishes, while others said Q50's reckless lifestyle made this inevitable, in a twist that shocked both his supporters and rivals. Q50 later appeared on social media, looking relatively unharmed despite earlier reports claiming he was on his deathbed. Q50 surviving the shooting was not just unlikely, it was nothing short of a miracle, given how many bullets hit his truck. The drill scene reacted immediately, with social media exploding. Memes popped up everywhere. Like POV, the St. Louis hit squad seeing Q50 go live on Instagram, clowning the shooters for failing their mission. Back to childhood. The emotional impact on Lil Jeff was immense. When I first heard Jeff passed, I did not know how to react, he said later. He was more than a cousin, he was like a big brother. Grief turned into action, with Lil Jeff getting tattoos, honoring Zoni and channeling that pain into planning revenge. This was no longer gang politics. It had become family business, demanding blood for blood. The retaliation was swift and precise. On June 25, 2023, Lil Jeff, Q50, and their crew caught Leah, a Trap City member, slipping in Little Italy near UIC. They mirrored the circumstances of Zoni's death as a symbolic message. The very next day, they released a remix of Coffin, directly shouting out Z Money and celebrating the successful hit. Music had become real-time documentation of a deadly street war, with bodies dropping and trauma turned into viral content. Q50's role in this conflict went deeper than a single act of revenge. Street sources and YouTube documentaries claim he may have up to 8 alleged bodies linked to him. Whether true or rumor, it cemented his reputation as a dangerous young figure. In Chicago's drill and gangster culture, Q50's role in this ongoing war is complicated. He is not just part of the violence, he is a drill artist who uses music to fuel the beef and a prime target for retaliation. His lyrics often mention 7.62mm rounds, or 7.62s, and call out specific Trap City rivals, almost like a musical scorecard documenting the conflict. The beef hit its peak on June 8, 2024. When Lil Jeff was killed around 5:14 p.m. on the 6600 block of Esrose Avenue in Chicago's Woodlawn neighborhood, deep in Trap City territory. The circumstances were both tragic and ironic. Jeff was killed while trying to carry out a drill on his enemies in their own backyard. Police reports and leaked surveillance footage showed Lil Jeff and his crew chasing a target to a house during what appeared to be a drug deal involving a woman, but the hunter became the hunted. Someone emerged from the house with a chopper and opened fire, hitting Jeff with an estimated 12 to 19 shots. Before this, Jeff was living his life unaware of the danger. He was relaxed, happy, and focused on the moment. Nobody really lives expecting something to happen, friends said. The identity of Jeff's killer remains a mystery. No one has been officially charged for his murder as of August 18, 2025. Trap City Rob was arrested at the scene on unrelated gun charges, but never for the killing itself. Later, Q50 admitted in footage that he was present during the incident, which also involved an attempted hit on a Trap City member and an innocent civilian. This confession added another layer of survivor's guilt and trauma to Q50's story. The psychological toll on Q50 was obvious. He publicly struggled with depression after Jeff's death, calling it like losing his best friend, his heart, his big brother, and his everything. This loss was personal and also professional. Jeff had been Q50's musical partner, and the duo was gaining serious momentum in the drill scene. Q50 had not planned on pursuing rap seriously, but after Jeff's death, pressure from management and the desire to honor his cousin's legacy pushed him into the spotlight. All this happened while Q50 maintained the dangerous street lifestyle that had already claimed close family members. The beef continued to claim lives even a month after Jeff's death. Lil Scoom, 89, was killed, adding to the trauma for Q50 and the Bloodhound crew. The rapid succession of losses created a psychological pressure cooker, influencing Q50's increasingly reckless behavior. Understanding this background is essential to seeing why Q50 surviving the St. Louis shooting caused such a strong reaction from Chicago enemies. To Trap City members, Q50 represented unfinished business, the last major player still active from the duo that had terrorized their streets. His survival was infuriating and disrespectful to their fallen soldiers. When news of Q50 getting shot hit the internet, the streets were watching closely. Surprisingly, Trap City, the crew linked to Lil Jeff's death, stayed mostly silent. In a culture where rivals rush online to mock their enemies, this radio silence spoke volumes. But while they kept quiet publicly, actions behind the scenes were underway. Q50's Chicago crew began identifying the St. Louis shooters online, essentially dry snitching by naming CTS Lewick and others in videos and posts. This digital exposure created a new form of warfare, giving federal investigators potential evidence while maintaining plausible deniability. Posts by 95 Mob Dre, one of Q50's associates, openly named the shooters while oddly showing respect, writing things like, "I love y'all." On 2 Times grave, "Y'all stood on everything you told me, blood. I got something for y'all." This public acknowledgement shocked the drill community, while it gave praise to the St. Louis shooters for attempting to hit Q50. It also provided a roadmap for legal authorities, showing how social media can play a central role in modern street conflicts. Comments on social media blew up after Q50's survival, calling out the behavior of his crew and enemies alike. People were shocked, saying he had dry snitched by publicly naming the shooters, potentially giving federal authorities all the names they needed for a RICO case. The irony was not lost on street observers. The same culture that claims to despise snitching was now using the internet to expose rivals when it served their purposes. Meanwhile, the alleged shooters were not showing any remorse. CTS Lou Wick posted about the incident with laughing emojis, writing, "Bloodhound Q50 was shot this morning in Estill. His taunting online showed zero regret for attempting to take a young man's life and created self-incriminating evidence that could make prosecutors' jobs easier." The broader Chicago drill scene had a mixed reaction to Q50 surviving. Some expressed relief, some disappointment, and others responded with the dark humor drill culture is known for. Many threads documented how Q50's enemies in Chicago were identifying his attackers online, publicly pointing out who had pulled the trigger. Meme culture exploded, with posts like POV, the St. Louis hit squad seeing Q50 go live on Instagram, or showing his poolside live streams that highlighted the shooter's shock at his survival. These memes served multiple purposes. They helped fans process trauma through humor while subtly mocking both sides for the failed hit. Some street observers reflected on the bigger picture. They noted that while the attempt was tragic, it was also inevitable given Q50's lifestyle and past actions. His reckless behavior and public bragging had made this moment almost predictable. Emotional reactions from other rivals and revealed a deeper understanding of street politics and legal consequences. Rob had been arrested in November 2024 in connection with Jeff's death but was never formally charged, making him aware that any public celebration could be used against him in court. Q50, however, was defiant. He posted photos with captions like, "Notorious like Big Papa, but I ain't going like Chris Wallace. You either in or out," showing that surviving the attempt had not humbled him. If anything, it made him feel more invincible and reckless. The shooting also highlighted the growing danger of committing crimes outside one's home territory. What used to be neighborhood beefs were now crossing state lines, creating new challenges for law enforcement and communities caught in the crossfire. As the immediate reactions settled, one thing became clear: silence can be the most powerful tool. While some rivals exposed themselves through public posts and memes, the most calculated players stayed quiet, understanding that every tweet or Instagram post could be used as evidence in court. Q50's survival intensified the conflicts he was already in, setting the stage for further retaliation. In the end, the streets had spoken through action, silence, memes, and social media posts. And in this deadly game, the smartest players know when to keep their mouths shut